I'm Mia D. Martin, and welcome to Financial Freedom. I'm very excited to welcome our guest today, Dawn Kirk. Thank you for joining us today, Dawn.
Well, thank you, Mia, for the invitation.
You're very welcome. So I've known Dawn for several years now, and I've always looked up to her professionally and as an entrepreneur. And she's been gracious enough to even allow me to do some work for her company from a marketing perspective in the earlier stages of her company. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And I'm excited to see your success here, Dawn, with your company, Best You for Life. And throughout our conversation, we're going to talk about your transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, how you've opened up multiple revenue streams as an entrepreneur, as well as some of the newer endeavors that you've added on to Best You for Life. So let's go ahead and get started.
Let's.
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, Dawn.
So again, my name is Dawn 12, if you can believe that. I also spent 26 years in corporate America in a variety of different positions at 2 Fortune 100 companies, and in the last 4.5 years, turned over to entrepreneurship full-time and absolutely enjoying it.
Absolutely. What do you enjoy most about entrepreneurship,
I
Dawn?
love the flexibility.
Yes.
I love choosing who I want to work with, when I want to work with them, and how I want to work with them.
And what is the best learning experience you've had so far in being an entrepreneur?
Oh, wow, there's many. But probably the biggest one, this might surprise people, is really learning how to manage your time. Because, you know, when you work for somebody else, there's a lot of parameters and frameworks that you're working against. But when you're working for yourself, you really have to create everything, and learning the difference between being busy and being productive. And when I say productive, it's about making money, not just being busy. Really learn that income-producing activities very well.
Yes, and I had a mentor share with me the importance of revenue or income-generating opportunities and really the importance of time blocking as an entrepreneur. When you think about financial freedom, when you're dealing with entrepreneurship, oftentimes time is money.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And when you think about financial freedom as an entrepreneur, what does that mean to you?
So interesting, because I do believe financial freedom is different things to different people. So for me, it means being able to live the lifestyle that I want to live without debt and without necessarily having to work. That's what financial freedom means for me, meaning work could be optional and I could still live the lifestyle that I want to lead. And
when you're providing consulting to your clients, how do you guide them to move in that direction?
Which direction? Into financial freedom?
Yes, into financial freedom.
The number one thing is get out of debt. Number one thing is get out of debt.
Yes.
Secondly is make sure you're operating with a budget, right? So you kind of know exactly where your money is going. But then the biggest piece is make a plan. Like, where do you want to go, by when, and what does that lifestyle look like for you whenever you stop working or what have you? And let's start mapping that plan now.
Yes.
So that you can make those decisions intentionally and not by accident.
When someone is still in the corporate space and they're thinking about making consistent income coming in, so for someone who is making that leap and they still want to achieve financial freedom, what advice do you have for them to prepare for that leap?
Yes, I'm going to just use my life as an example. Left. I didn't know exactly when I was going to leave, but I started putting plans in place. And what I mean by that is I knew I wanted to own my own business, consulting, coaching, teaching, mentoring. So I made sure that during my job, my discretionary time, I spent time doing those things. You and I met doing one of those things. Like I made sure I was speaking as often as I possibly could because I knew I wanted to do speaking as part of my entrepreneurship. So I started doing that for free as much as I could to start practicing. The second thing I did was I hired a financial planner and really sat down and said, okay, how am I looking? Can I really stop doing this to go over to entrepreneurship? And the question I asked him that was really crucial for me is, if I didn't make another dollar from my business, how long before I'd be out of money? And the reason I asked that question is because I never wanted to make the jump from corporate America to entrepreneurship and be stressed.
Yes.
I didn't want to build my business off. I got to have you as a client, please, please, please.
Yes.
Because people can see. I wanted to take my time, do it right, and not have the pressure of, if I don't get this deal, I can't pay my rent or can't pay my mortgage. So I just encourage people to give themselves that buffer and really regret doing it because it's just a miserable place to be.
It is.
But yeah, start honing your skills in corporate America right now for whatever you're going to start doing. Start trying to find a little time on the side and start developing it. I started my coaching business. I started doing it full time because I wanted to do two things. One, I wanted to make sure it was something I really wanted to do and I was really going to love it. Secondly, I wanted a little bit of proof that I can make the same or more money than I'm making in corporate America. And I wanted to practice my skills so that I would be really good at it. So I encourage people to shift a little bit of that discretionary time you might put into the corporate job and reallocate it into the passion and where you're heading.
I love that advice. So build a buffer, right? Test your product or your service out and allocate some of your free time. It could become your hobby until it becomes your business, right? So that you can try it out, you can fail, you see what you like, what you don't like. So you put that process into place. Let's talk about the importance of residual income and multiple revenue streams.
Extremely important.
Yes.
So a couple things early on, and I want to share this because I'm an entrepreneur, is I built a buffer into my business from day one. Meaning, if it took a lot of time to have consistent clients, I wanted to smooth out that roller coaster of income. And so what I did is I started contracting with other folks that allowed me to still do my coaching business. I didn't have to do the business development part of that. So they'll call me and say, hey, you want to take this client? I'm like, sure. So I built a buffer and steady income with things like that while I was still building my business, which was very, very, very helpful.
Yes, and I'm working on that myself because now I see the importance of it. And for those who aren't familiar, I think that oftentimes you're taught that you can't work while you're an entrepreneur, or if you are an entrepreneur and you're working, it's just a side hustle or a side gig. But if you're a solopreneur consultant, especially, when you have a business, it is good for you to actually provide consulting services to companies. And many of those companies are going to respect and appreciate the fact that you're an entrepreneur, and they may not necessarily want to bring you on full time.
Right.
They may just want to bring you on a contract basis, and the two of you work out that particular time, right? But you're able to secure a consistent revenue stream of income so that you can take care of your primary bills, still work on your business, continue to build your client base, and make retainer-based income from your clients that you establish or that you already have.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that out there, and I'm glad that you brought that up because sometimes it's frowned upon. If someone may look at your LinkedIn and they see that you're working with a company, they automatically assume, oh, well, you're not an entrepreneur.
Oh, right. Far from the truth. Far from the truth.
Absolutely.
And I'll just share this, and many people don't know this, is that I shared earlier that I spent 26 years in corporate America and was a senior executive at both organizations. Simultaneously, time to figure out what I really wanted to be when I grew up.
And you were successful in those too.
Nobody would have ever known the difference. It's like I still did my job at 110%, and I still was able to do, I'll call it side hustle, but it was me discovering what I really wanted to do for my full-time business.
Ultimately, if you listen to your heart and you listen to yourself, you can't let yourself down. And you're gonna end up happy because you're doing what you really want to do or what you're really passionate about. And that's exactly what I did.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
you missed one of your clients. I don't know why I was not contacted for that research. I need to be a part of it because I have a problem sleeping. So I need to get into your study so I can find out what I need to do.
And I think that it's important because depending on how much extra time you have, if you don't have a hobby, I guess, some people do have a hobby. They may play a sport or there may be an activity that they're passionate about. This is just a great way to really understand who you are as an entrepreneur. So let's talk about your app.
My app. So
Yes.
another additional stream of income. So everybody knows that during the pandemic, it was tough for local business owners, and particularly those who had brick and mortar. And when they had to shut down, if they didn't have great online presence or they didn't know where their clients were, they really lost touch, and many of them had to close. And so I ran across an opportunity, some great technology that allows you to connect with your current clients and your prospective clients through this local app. And so think about, so it's called North Fulton Local App. You can download it on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. But what it does is connect residents to local owners. It's plain and simple. So think about, it connects you from a next door perspective. So you have that connectivity. We have classified ads on there. We have community events, community news, and then we have the local business owners. And the local business owners are able to do advertising on the app and talk to their current clients as well as prospective clients. We use Bluetooth technology for brick and mortar, so when somebody drives by and they have the app, they can send their promotions to the front of that person's phone. So some really turnkey technology that we're extremely excited about.
That's fantastic. And one thing that I like about the app as well is that it also highlights minority-owned businesses.
Yes, yes. I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that I wanted to solve, because I've gone to sites looking for, Black-owned businesses or women-owned businesses, and it's hard to find a current list. It's hard to get in touch with people, so I wanted to make it easy for people to find those businesses, and most importantly, make it easy for those local business owners to capitalize on people finding them and be able to monetize it. So we have Black-owned business section, women-owned, and Latina-owned.
That's fantastic. And the monetization piece, apps where it may list the businesses within the area, right? And it has some type of geolocator in it. But to offer the opportunity for all of these businesses, inclusive of minority and women-owned businesses, to be able to monetize this platform, I think it's just another way to open up opportunities for small business owners that they may not have known were out there.
And the really important part, it's cost effective. So, our real value add is, hey, we're not looking for you to spend incremental money because we know how every dollar counts, is to reallocate and make sure that you're getting a return on your marketing investment. You know how important that is.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of people tell you they can sell you marketing, but is it going to help you drive more revenue? That's the million-dollar question, and we provide them analytics every Sunday night at midnight to tell them how many impressions, exactly what's going on with each of the promotions that they ran. So we're providing them great analytics behind it as well.
And the analytics are key because that's an indicator of performance.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy that all of these small business owners are getting access to real live data every Sunday that's specific to their business and their local area. So that's great. Thank you for getting that started. Here's a little bit and talk about your most recent book. What's the name of your recent book?
The name of my recent book is called Heartbeat Leadership. The subtitle is Empower Yourself, Engage Your Team, Impact Your Organization.
And what is it all about?
It is all about leadership and more specifically about people first leadership. So throughout my corporate career, in that we'd have people in leadership, but people were kind of the secondary focus of the jobs. And so I really wanted to help teach leaders how you can still really focus on people and drive results. Many times leaders think those are a trade-off. Like if I really need to drive results, I don't have time to do this people stuff. And if I'm going to focus on people, aren't my results going to, it's an and.
Yes.
And so that's really what the book is about. It's a 6-step framework that I use to help people integrate the focus in the proper amount of time, called the 6 Ps or the 6 pulses, playing off the heart analogy.
Wow.
And I use the word heartbeat because when you think about how important the heart is to the body, what happens to the body if the heart's not working? I believe the same thing happens to your business when you don't focus on people. It'll die.
Let's talk about people, leadership, and the role they play in financial freedom, whether it's a small business or a large corporation. How does leadership tie into financial freedom for their organization?
It's huge. Number one, I believe it's huge even just from a personal perspective because I believe if you don't lead, you can't lead anybody else well. So consistently influencing those around you to be able to perform and to follow through on the visions of your business. But most importantly, leadership involves discipline, right? It involves visioning. It involves planning. So all of those attributes that you have as a great leader translate directly into your ability to drive revenue and to drive financial freedom in your own life as well.
And you don't have to be a quote unquote leadership by. So let's talk a little bit about those who may not be aspiring to be in leadership or have a leadership role, but they'd still like to improve their leadership capabilities because when they make that leap in entrepreneurship, they ideally are the CEO of their own company. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so excuse me, again, leadership is not about title at all. It's about your ability to influence other people, period. So I always challenge people that start to read, start to listen, start to do webinars, start to do a lot of different things that will help you build those leadership skills. And specifically, I work with executives in particular who are looking to make that transition from corporate America to entrepreneurship about what are those specific skills you're really going to need.
Some of those skills are, if you don't mind sharing with the audience.
So I think a big one is communication and networking. I cannot tell you how important, I underestimated the power of networking coming out of corporate America. I thought I knew how to network. What I really knew how to do was socialize and eat, right?
Me too. Yeah, I like
But
to eat.
when I got my own business and I really started getting out there networking and people started, support you, or, you know, how can you help me? And it's like, wow, this is a whole different ball game.
It
And if
is.
you're not really prepared for that and being able to talk about your business confidently and what skills you bring to the table and what your business is all about, you're going to find it challenging to really connect with people and to get people interested potentially in what you do. So I would say networking and communication are key. The second big thing is just business acumen, understanding the P&L of your business, right? Understanding how you're making money, understanding is it profitable or not, and what are those steps in between to make sure that you can flow through as much as possible the top line to the bottom line.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Single in the City. I'm your host, Genesis Moore. About what are you venting about, and what do you really want to tell your friend?
Be wise for her to also assess the pros and cons of this relationship.
Hey, when I was younger, I was definitely in a situation like this before, and so I understood her when she.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
We get the breadcrumbs all over. We want to have that flavor in every bit of that chicken.
So the scary part is when you're not profitable. Entrepreneurs, when they go through that phase of lack of profitability.
number one, don't freak out. You know, it's a cycle and it's a season. You know, every business doesn't start out profitable. In fact, if you're really investing early, you're not likely to make a profit in the beginning. The key is to understand why you're not profitable. Secondly, get good bookkeepers, get good CPAs, get good tax people around you. But make a plan. You know, really understand, okay, if I'm not profitable this year, what levers do I need, or what revenue number do I need in order for this to become profitable? And it's an equation. It's truly an equation. And so you have to just understand, is it the revenue that's causing me to be unprofitable? I'm not making enough? Is it that I'm spending too much relative to my revenue? And then understanding what are investments in the business versus expenses in the business.
Yes.
And how do you cut some of those expenses short term to drive more profitability?
Yeah, and from an expense perspective, I've really seen that software stack for a lot of small businesses that can add up.
Yes.
And there's just so many miscellaneous expenses that could be cut back, and just recognizing whether or not they're being utilized, or if maybe there's one platform that could do multiple things and you can streamline your costs a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So you talked about the importance of understanding your network, right? And what to do when someone asks you, well, how can I help you? And I think I struggled with that
I
when
still do
I still
sometimes.
do too. But I think when you can have a really good handle around what you need, so having that analysis of the P&L and knowing where you stand in your business, you may know that you need extra money.
Yeah, I
So
need
that-
capital.
I need capital. So that ask may be capital, that ask may be mentorship, that ask may be asking that. Being prepared to know what you need and having a clear understanding of it, so that when you're networking,
Yes.
the light bulb can go off and you can say, that person can help me
Yes.
with this particular piece. So how have you monetized your network? I know the app works within the local area and you're doing business with people in that area, but to date, how have you monetized your network?
So I wanted to share this real quickly. So I've been in business full-time 4.5 years. I have not formally marketed it yet. All of the business I've done over 4.5 years has been through networking and word of mouth, which I'm very excited about, knowing that I still need to do this marketing because I want to accelerate, but I've done it through my network. And I truly believe when you serve first and not always leading with what am I selling, and I'm looking for business, and you're looking truly to help someone else, that business comes to you. That's what I've experienced. So I'm never stingy with my time per se when somebody asks me a question or looking for advice. And we do a referral partnership all the time.
Yes.
So I look, how can I support you? You always are looking to support me. And I'm involved in an organization called Business Network International, BNI. The sole focus of that network is to refer business to one another. So that's been a huge way I've monetized my network.
That's
because
fantastic.
Yeah, every Wednesday at 7, we get together for an hour and a half, and all we do is give our 60 seconds, and then we listen for what that other person needs, and we're thinking about our network and how can I send them a referral, and they're doing the same for me.
So let's talk about strategic referrals. I think BNI is fantastic. I've been a guest of your BNI, so thank you very much. I've seen the success and the different entrepreneurs that are in it that have support one another. But when you think about strategic referrals and why they're important as an entrepreneur, for those who aren't familiar with it, could you kind of explain what that process would look like, even outside of BNI? If you were to look at your network and really just say, how can I help them and how can they help me?
Yeah.
Could you share that?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to do is to really think about who's in your network that complements digital marketing service, financial planners, bookkeepers. All the things that I help businesses with are all people in my strategic network. So think about this. Somebody comes to me, they're getting business, their whole business, they need digital marketing support. I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not the expert. And I say, you know what, I want to introduce you to Mia, who has a marketing consulting business. And so I call you, Mia, and I say, Mia, I've got a client for you. This is what they're looking to work with. And then we work out how we're going to revenue share, if you will, that opportunity. And vice versa.
Yes.
She's working with a client, doing marketing services, and now they have a bigger issue from a business perspective they need to solve. And she's like, you know what? I'm not the expert. I'm going to refer them back to Dawn.
Yes.
And between the two of us, we work out how we handle that relationship, whether it's, hey, whenever you refer somebody to me, I'm going to give you 10% of what that did, whatever those numbers out. But that's what a strategic partner and referral is that you both share in the revenue of sharing business with one another.
And it's a great way to build residual income or to open up an alternate revenue stream, because if you truly have strategic partnerships with a lot of supportive organizations or people in your network, then that's just extra money coming in from these referrals, and you're supporting one another's business on a consistent basis.
The other thing I share is think about all the things you use in your business. You use software for tracking your finances. You use a platform for your website. There's a million of them. Think about what you're spending money on. 9 times out of 10, those organizations have affiliate marketing opportunities, or they have reseller opportunities. And so people laugh at me because I can almost offer you a little bit of everything. It's like, hey, I've got this platform.
Yes.
and it all adds up. Like each one doesn't necessarily pay a ton of money. Whether it's $5 or $500, it's residual income. Doesn't take you any time to refer it. And so I always say that everything I use either saves me money or can make me money, or ideally it does both.
Yes, and that's key. As a marketer, I'm so proud that you are doing this. And to your point, sometimes I feel like the jack of all trades because for almost any and everything that I use, because if I'm going to recommend it to my clients, if I'm going to talk about it in a presentation, then I want to be able to be compensated for that. I want a discount for my clients. And it is free advertisement for that company that's already established a great name, but now word of mouth, and that's the best type of marketing.
Let's be real.
Yes.
They are saving tons of money.
Oh, yes.
Even though they're paying you versus if they had to do this in TV advertising or a billboard or print.
Right.
It's still the most cost-effective form of advertising for them. So although they might sound really generous, and they are, they're still saving tons of money by leveraging people like you and I.
Yes, and I will gladly take on that affiliate link and share it.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, I know that we both also only bring on affiliates that we know can be of value to our clients, because that reputation for us as consultants and business owners is also important to protect. So any and everything that we would use would be something we use ourselves or our clients are using.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so what advice do you have for the audience just overall as they're thinking about entrepreneurship, as they may be contemplating how to get better with financial freedom? Just what could you give them? What nuggets of wisdom?
Well, number one is continue to pursue your passion and your dreams. No matter how challenging it might seem as you sit there right now, it is absolutely possible. I would encourage you to seek counsel and surround yourself with people that can help support you throughout this journey, because I can tell you, no matter how much you think you know, there's always more to know, and the pace at which things change, you need a board of advisors, if you will, surrounding you to really help you through this. And map a plan. Like sit down and do goal setting. I cannot tell you how many times I talk to business owners and it's like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I say, well, what are your goals and what are your plans? And I can tell you 9 out of 10 times, unfortunately, they haven't thought through the big picture, just, the tactical things. So get very strategic in outlining where you're going, and the day-to-day pieces will start to come together.
That's fantastic advice. And one thing I do want to revisit really quickly is the importance of serving.
Yes.
And I know that we have both served through a lot of nonprofits.
Yes.
We have both served through the church. And I just want to touch on the importance of sharing your gifts. So I know that you've shared your gifts with the church in the past, and if you could just touch on that a little bit as well.
Absolutely. I will tell you, I wouldn't be here today doing what I'm doing if I hadn't served first. So a couple places where I served. I've served in my corporate jobs beyond my scope of my job and gave discretionary time to people to help. Secondly, my first real coaching client came from the church, where I volunteered to be a leadership facilitator. So I've been doing that for the last 5-6 years. So it's very important. It does a couple things. One, it gives you visibility and credibility 2, you get the chance to share your gift with others. But 3, it's also advertising and allows you to continue to hone your craft in a safe place.
Right.
You know, where people are like welcoming you to help share your gift with them. So I've found it beneficial on so many different fronts. But most importantly, it's fulfilling to me to know that I'm adding value to others, and I've never had to worry about the monetary piece coming back.
Right.
I've never been focused on that.
Absolutely.
And I just truly believe when you pour into the lives of others, you never have to worry back to you.
I agree 100%. Yes, if we all shared our gifts, we would be very, very blessed and just have a
Yes.
bounty. So
Yes.
thank you for sharing your gifts. I know you've shared your gifts with me. I've called you many times for advice. So thank you very much for being on today. I want everyone else to be able to access you as well. So where can they find you?
So I want you to text the word Biz Coach, BIZCOACH, to 21,000.
And that's going to take you to every way to get in
Yes.
touch with Dawn. Her book will be on there, her website, all of her contact information,
Yes.
social media handles. So just follow the simple directions. Give it to them one more time, Dawn.
Biz Coach to 21,000.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today on Financial Freedom.